After the accident, it was hard to recover. I repeat, I spent a month in the hospital. During that time, I thought it all should have ended. All that horror that has been chasing me since the village. I believed it and hoped for the best. Why was it hard to recover? Well, we kind of flew into a ditch because my, so to speak, parents, in quotes, jumped out onto the road. The taxi driver died, by the way, as I found out later. Ugh, so many deaths on my conscience. My friend, his girlfriend, the taxi driver, the neighbor. Damn, it's heavy on my soul. Very heavy, but there's nothing I can do for them now. My head was a mess. I lay on the bed in the ward waiting for the doctor, simultaneously thinking that I'd soon have to go back home. But I consoled myself with the thought that a lot of time had passed and maybe all of this wouldn't happen again, but few questions just wouldn't leave my head. Who are they? Where are my real parents? And why didn't they kill me? There were so many opportunities and convenient moments. Back in the village, and then in the apartment. Although they broke my friends in a second. For no reason at all. Or did they want to leave some kind of message for me? I don't know. I was pulled out of these thoughts by the doctor entering the room. Anyway, I won't recount our dialogue. I was discharged. Leaving the hospital, I took a breath of fresh air. The journey home lay ahead, and it didn't make me very happy, but I had nowhere else to go, you know? I thought after lying in the hospital for a month, I should have somehow forgotten all this horror, but no, it all swirled in my head as if it had happened just yesterday. Again, I hoped that it would all blow over and I'd return to a normal human life. I had no money on me, and my phone was dead and turned off. I had to take a risk and ride without a ticket on the trolley bus to somehow get home. The risk was justified, no one noticed me, and with great difficulty, I made it to my street. Before that, I walked a good 2 kilometers from a stop, the whole time thinking about food and the things mentioned above. I was very hungry. I didn't eat the hospital food because even dogs are fed better, and I'm like a person. But that's not the point. Getting home, the first thing I did was collapse on the sofa and just lie there. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. I don't remember anymore. I was tired and my leg was aching. I didn't want to do anything. By that time, everything in the fridge that could spoil had spoiled. Nothing to eat, in short. I'll have to go to the store, buy at least some instant noodles and some sausages or cheap sausage. Putting my phone on charge and throwing on a jacket, I put on my shoes and left the apartment. You know, I felt a bit better. I wasn't really thinking about it anymore. I was thinking about how to find a job and live like I used to. Buying some food at the store with my last money, I was heading home. It was getting dark. Lights were turning on under the entrances. Windows in the houses were lit up. Everything seemed fine. I was walking home thinking that soon I'd be eating something tasty. All this calm was shattered the moment I put the key in the door and heard my phone going crazy with messages. You know how it is, maybe you've experienced it, when someone adds you to a VK group chat and the endless message notifications start. That's exactly what it was like then. My first thought was, not again. Goosebumps ran all over my body, and images from those terrible events I had lived through twice started flashing before my eyes. I had not the slightest desire to take the phone and see what was there. I was afraid the story would repeat itself, but curiosity finally got the better of me. My fears were confirmed. It was Mom. Messages were still coming in nonstop. One word. Run. 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 Run where? What the hell is going on? And what's the point? The date is today's, and the messages are coming in real time. But how did they know I turned on the phone? My train of thought was interrupted by a call. Mom was calling again. For about 10 minutes I sat with the phone in my hand listening to the stupid iPhone ringtone, but then I snapped and answered. Hello, what do you want from me? Why are you latched onto me? Let me live in peace. The response was this. Run, run, the village is gone, everyone is dead, they came for us, and they will come for you, you run, there's not much time left. My shock had no limits. Fear began to envelop me from head to toe. I hung up and sat on the floor like an idiot, staring at the wall, and holding the now ringing phone with Mom on the screen. The village is gone. Run. Run where? Wait. The village is gone. That's what the truck driver, the one I rode with, said. That's what he told me. Run. Run where? From whom? And why? I don't understand anything. I just kept sitting in the room, staring at the wall. I sat like that for maybe 2 hours. I didn't feel like eating anymore. Fear had completely taken hold of me. My hands were shaking, and my heart was jumping out of my chest. Finally, gathering my thoughts a bit, I went to the kitchen. I needed to eat something. I was even feeling nauseous from hunger. My stomach was completely empty, and my strength was slowly leaving me. Making some instant noodles and cutting some sausages into it, I covered it with a plate and went to my room. The SMS had stopped the calls too, but an incomprehensible anxiety kept growing and growing. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I quietly went out into the hallway and looked through the peephole. The stairwell was empty. But who? I wasn't expecting anyone, and no one ever comes to visit me. Fear wrapped around my body even tighter. The only thing I tried to do was comfort myself with the thought that it was just some stupid kids messing around. But alas, most likely that wasn't the case. But that's what I thought at that moment. My stomach was making itself known more and more. And no longer paying attention to the fear that had taken hold of me, I finally went to the kitchen to eat. You won't believe what happened next. Opening the plate with the noodles and seeing it, I almost fell to the floor and threw up. Although there was nothing to puke up except water, the bowl was full of worms. Different maggots, worms, caterpillars, mixed with dirt. And literally immediately after that, more SMS came in the room. You know what was written? Mom was writing. Again, just one word many times. Tasty, 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 tasty. And it's them. They are here again. They are nearby. I thought to myself. My state was so shitty, I can't even put into words for you. I just wanted probably to die, to stop suffering. Fear had been replaced by despair. I found a cigarette but in the ashtray, lit it and smoked. And what to do next? The SMS kept coming and didn't stop. I had already learned to ignore them. Opening the window to avoid suffocating from the smoke, I heard the door in the stairwell slam. That put me on alert. About 5 minutes later, a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. Oh, the neighbor, Uncle Misha. Just as I reached for the handle, I remembered. Mom buried him in the sandbox that time. So who is that then? I looked through the peephole again. Uncle Misha was still standing there. But I know it's not him. It's some kind of crap. It felt like he was looking through the peephole at me and could see me. And that look sent shivers down my spine. Especially since I know it's fucking not him. The whole time I stood there staring at him through the peephole, but then he suddenly moved closer to it and yelled, "Open up, why are you standing there staring?" In the same voice my dad had yelled in, or rather, that creature in his guise. And why can't they break the door down? I shouldn't have thought that, because literally immediately, they started hitting it. Very hard. But thankfully my door is more or less sturdy, although I flinched with every blow, and at times it even seemed like it would fly off its hinges. And characteristically, no one came out of the neighbors' apartments. The racket was all through the stairwell, but no one came out. Looking through the peephole again, I saw my dear parents, who were again trying to get into the apartment. But god damn it, I just can't understand why they didn't kill me before. That just wouldn't fit in my head. What's the point of this circus with transformations and deceptions? The knocking on the door continued for another 15 minutes, and then stopped completely. And the SMS stopped too. A grave silence fell in the apartment. I could even hear my own heart beating. Yeah, dawn was beginning to break outside, and a thought came to me. I need to go to that very village that doesn't exist, as strange as it sounds, and deal with this once and for all. I looked out the window. No one was there. I opened the front door and looked out into the stairwell. Also empty. The only thing that made me flinch was the sand on my doormat. A lot of sand, and a stench. The smell wasn't strong, but noticeable. Rot, a kind of corpse-like smell. Anyway, I tried to sleep. I kinda managed. Woke up a couple of times, though don't know why. Didn't seem to be dreaming anything bad. In the morning, I got ready, took my documents, a backpack, and left the apartment. Not far from home, there was an office that gives out quick loans. Borrowing some money there, I went to a cafe, had a bite to eat, bought some food for the road, a machete, water, cigarettes, and went to the bus station. About an hour later, I was already on a bus halfway to the village. The bus passed by a sign that said Krasnoy, red. Without stopping, I jumped up and asked the driver to stop, to which he replied, "Son, where are you getting off? What are you going to do here? It's forest all around, about 50 kilometers to the nearest settlement." "What do you mean?" I was surprised. "The village of Krasnoy is right there, the sign is right there." "Are you okay, guy? There's nothing here except an old cemetery, and even that probably isn't there anymore." I silently got off the bus and walked down the path the sign pointed to. The bus doors closed and it drove away. I was driven only by the thought that I needed to understand all this and figure it out, to find out where my parents are and what these creatures that replaced them are. Walking a bit further, I saw the village. Well, the village, or rather what was left of it. Tilted houses, broken gates, overgrown front gardens. My surprise knew no bounds, and I was visited by the thought that I alone could see this village. Everyone says it doesn't and can't exist. The truck driver back then, the bus driver now, and the other passengers looked at me as if I had just escaped from a mental hospital. And next to the village, about 300 meters from my parents' so-called house, now half destroyed and overgrown, there really was a cemetery. I came to the cemetery. The graves were almost invisible. Toppled tombstones, rotten wooden crosses. And on one of the graves, I saw something that simply made my legs give way. And I fell on someone's grave. A photo of my parents. Date of death, 03/10/18. That's exactly 6 days before I came to visit them. Back then I paid attention to all the graves in general. They were blackened, the crosses were upside down more often than not, and in some places, coffins were slightly sticking out from under the ground and felt like someone had climbed out of them and then climbed back in. Then an SMS. I was stunned. I took out my phone. "Hello, son, come to us." But how is that possible? The view around me was very frightening, and on top of that, this SMS. This is some kind of satanic cemetery, but what are my parents doing here? I couldn't take it and replied to the SMS, "Mom, what are you doing in this creepy cemetery?" The answer wasn't long in coming. "None of your damn business, you pup. If the sun had set, we would have dragged you here, since you came yourself." But it's night. Wait, it's daytime now. I made a decision, difficult both morally and physically, to rebury my parents myself. With the machete, I hacked at the ground. Luckily, the coffins, as I already said, were peeking out, and it wasn't too hard to get them. Dragging the coffins about 300 meters away from that cursed place, with great difficulty, using my hands and the machete, I dug graves and buried Mom and Dad anew. Following all Christian rites, reading a prayer, and placing crosses over the graves, normal, not upside-down crosses. And I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. I felt a kind of calm and peace, and I calmly trudged back towards the road. And you won't believe it, I caught the very same truck with the very same driver who picked me up that night. "Hey guy, we meet again. How are you?" "Yeah, good." "You coming from the village that doesn't exist?" He laughed. "Yeah, no. From the cemetery. Visiting my parents." Well, that's a sacred thing." "Well, get in, let's go." I closed the door, and the truck started moving.